me here.
Badri, I mean, you're telling me a bit of a wild orchid, no? Your company is?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yep. We are Cattleya, the rarest orchid farm coming out of South America.
Okay, but by the way, they're not a biology firm, they're an IoT company, and Badri is going to be telling you about how to build a business. Right? They've taken, 5 years to get to 250 crores of cumulative contracts?
Absolutely.
Yeah, very successful. Banking and telecom?
Banking, telecom, retail, warehousing, and government clients.
Okay,
that's where
so
we are.
What you can learn from him is not just the technology, but also the sales process behind building an IoT business. So, Badri, tell me, when you started off in 2013,
right,
you had about 20 years of experience prior, right?
Absolutely.
And that counts.
Absolutely. Experience is critical. I mean, when you do a startup, you really need to understand, all the nuances of the business. You need to really be able to roll up your sleeves, do a lot of things that, you would ideally take for granted in large corporate worlds. You have a lot of diverse skills that you will require, right? So it's very critical to have the experience to understand what are the things that you need to put together yourself when you do the startup, and where is the team that you need to hire, right? So you're not, really in a startup scenario, you're not so very highly funded that you can actually go and hire every skill set that you need. So when you put together a co-founding team, you need to understand the critical aspects of what are the things that the co-founding team will do, should do, and hire expertise where it is absolutely essential at that point of time, because remember, you have a limited capital, you still don't have clients paying you money.
Very
and
true.
You don't have the investors lining up outside your door. You're in fact doing the other way, right? So you need to really understand how are you going to burn the money, how are you going to best utilize the time and the resources that you have, right? So that's how we started in 2013. So we actually, the two of us, the co-founders, Anup and myself, along with Karan Raj Sahi, who is our investor partner as well, right? He comes from a 42-year-old enterprise. He's a third generation person who runs a very large firm. We got together, and Anup and I, sort of decided that we're going to split the all the functions of the company between us. Anup is the guy who creates all the technologies. I am absolutely responsible for client facing, bringing in the the contracts, bringing in the the revenues, and the works around that. So there were three of us when we started. We had Anant Menon, who is with us still now, maverick engineer who came on board, very young guy, probably about 29 now. He is multi-skilled, diverse guy who came in. And we started talking to the clients. We figured.
So that's how you begin. You find a core team.
We find a core team, a great team, put them together, figure out the roles and responsibilities, and then start planning. What are you going to do? Which is going to be the low-hanging fruit? Who are the clients you're going to approach? What is the value proposition? And what is the big problem that you're solving for?
So before we get into what Cattleya does, I mean, you want to quickly tell us what IoT has evolved into from automated systems about 20 years ago to IoT today. A graduate should understand from you, where do you start? What is the business objective that he's going to build for, right?
Okay, so let's look at the history of IoT. Back in time, this used to be called as data acquisition, right? Then we had a phase where it was called as M2M, machine-to-machine connectivity. Then you had telematics and telemetry. Now it's sort of called as IoT. So you have a technology that's really grown, it's evolved, and it's been called by different names at different points of time. Right? This is encompassing about 20-25 years. So where was it applied originally? This was applied in electrical subsystems. You had the power generation and distribution. So you had the SCADA systems. That was one of the very first applications of that. You also had an example in the railway industry, signaling systems. This was a very advanced version, the most initial version
so these are dumb systems, right? Would you call them? Or?
They were basically systems that were very dumb, yes, very rudimentary, get some basic information so that life becomes easier for a human being. That was the purpose then, that is the purpose now.
But the whole thing revolved on data.
whole thing revolved around
and
data.
in the old days, the data would be collected, crunched over a period of time, 3-4 months, 5 months, 6 months, right?
It takes a long, there were some, real-time actions, yes, but mostly it was spread out over a period of time.
Okay.
Yes. And as we progress, what's happening is it's all become real time.
Okay.
And the intelligence has actually moved to the systems. So back in time you had these databases, you had these back-end applications,
correct,
which used to have the intelligence associated with the human being.
Correct.
But now this is actually moved into the device. That's where all the intelligence lies. Now you also have the processing ability moved to the boxes. So you have thousands and thousands of boxes which have these processing abilities and the intelligence built into them, which takes all the decisions. Does the data capture? Does the control mechanism? Does the communication? And then of course there are
what do you do?
evolutions.
All you have to do is build a layer on top of that and visualize it? Or is it deeper than that?
We build those systems. We design, create these hardware boxes. Those are called as IoTs, which are the front-end equipments, which go into the sites, and they pretty much connect to everything. It connects to the assets in the site, it connects to the process, it connects to the people, it connects to the data. So you're basically doing an amalgamation of all the 4 different elements, and you're giving an experience to an end customer. Right? Let's take an example of a banking ATM. Right? So how do you make the experience of the customer who walks in to withdraw cash better? So there you go. That's the box that goes there and helps the bank in an unmanned banking scenario, right? Give a whole lot of improved, better, kind of experience to the end client who's walking to withdraw.
It is real time.
It is real time, and the box takes all those decisions there, and the box interfaces with all these people.
It's not a rule engine, right? Is it dynamic or static?
It is dynamic.
Okay.
There are rule engines, yes. Then it is also dynamic. You have a layer of AI, you have a layer of ML that pretty much sort of evolves over a period of time.
So the evolution has changed because of the cloud and compute, right? Storage costs falling.
There are 2 parts to that. The processors are getting very faster.
Okay.
They're faster. They are cheaper. They are smaller in size. So the box size is shrunk. It has a lot more ability. Okay, that's one part of that. The second part of that is the connectivity. The connectivity between how you engage between the box and the other subsystems at the site to the backend cloud. So you have a real-time communication link, which was not available at all. So there are decisions that can happen at an analytical layer in the backend. There are decisions that happen at an AI ML layer at the front end, and how they interface with the equipments there, how they interface with the person out there.
Very
so
insightful.
That's the
very insightful. So you build a core team.
Yep.
Then you define your business objectives based on your technological capabilities.
Absolutely.
And then you go and sell.
Absolutely.
Or do you sell based on what your client requires?
No,
where do you start?
Well, you got every sale is concept selling for a startup. All right, so you got to go and paint a picture. You got to evolve the picture, right?
Okay.
So you got to go and tell the client, hey, look, as we see it, this is your operation, this is your process, and we see a very large problem. So what is your problem with, let's say, let's take the case example of a bank ATM.
How do you understand the process? Do they give you access, or do you take time in the market, spending time by researching, talking to people, getting to site yourself? Do you start there?
Well, actually, you just got to keep your eyes open, okay? You and I both customers.
Correct.
We both walk into an ATM,
yes.
All right? We withdraw cash, right? We go into a bank branch, we withdraw cash, we transact. So you see these things around you. You see the problems around you, all right? So, for example, in an ATM, when you go there, I'm sure you would have seen quite a few kinds of people who actually walk into an ATM who are non-customers. So what do these guys do there? These guys, let's say at a very basic level, they clean, keep the ATM premise clean. So there are technicians who actually go change bulbs. Okay, there are technicians who go and tinker around with the air conditioner. There are guys who actually go and do cache filling. There are guys who actually go and just do simple things like remote or restart of a modem. That is communicating. That is the communication between the ATM and the backend.
Pretty technical. You got to observe all these things.
Right. So you go to the back room. You will see that there is a battery. You have it at your house.
Okay.
It's there in an ATM. You have a UPS room. There is a UPS in the back room. Right. So these all require human beings to go there keep do an upkeep. All right, you have guys who are guarding. The moment you enter, hard to miss a very old man,
sitting
a retired
there,
guy sitting there, probably half dozing,
Correct.
right? And he's supposed to be guarding it, right? And what is he supposed to be guarding? The cash in the ATM or your life when you are going to get mugged?
He's not doing both, right?
He's not going to do either of it, right? So these are the problems that you're actually seeing, and so you can actually apply this to a retail outlet. Let's look at a retail outlet like a Vodafone, all right? So in a Vodafone, what do? You go there is a machine, you go and pay cash.
And you've got a line waiting.
You've got a line waiting.
Very manual.
So it's all manual, and you go to that, right? So that's exactly the same problem. So you have the same security guards, you have the same technicians, you have the same set of employees who are trying to interface with the customers.
Nothing gets solved.
Right. Yeah. So the problems are staring at you. Okay. It's just that you got to be observant enough to understand what their processes are. Okay. Once you have that, you sort of you understand the process from an outsider perspective as a customer, then you go to your potential customer and tell him, hey, look, this is the process that I'm seeing, and I think I will be able to help solve some of these by automating them.
So when you go do a sales pitch, you say it's automation. What are the 3 things that you tell them that you could do better than anybody out there?
Okay. First up, the existing process that you have, right, I can actually do that way more efficiently in a lot lesser time. Number 1. That's interesting to a client, yes. The second thing, you basically tell them, not 3 things, I would just stick to 2 things. The second thing I would tell them, hey, look, I'm actually going to do it at a way lower cost than you are doing it at this point of time.
Low cost doesn't mean free.
No.
And low cost doesn't mean that I'm
it's
the cheapest.
Not cheap.
Yes,
no.
Exactly.
Lower cost is that, it costs you X right now. I will be able to do that far more efficiently across 10,000 sites or 100,000 sites. If you do the math, what is it costing you per site multiplied by 10,000 sites? I will be able to do that at a way lower cost, which basically means day one you have the value proposition of reducing your standing operating costs, which are only going to increase every 6 months.
And direct impact on bottom line.
Direct impact on the bottom line. Now, number 2, what is more interesting from there on to a client is that, look, my box or my solution can do 1, 2, 3, 4 more layers that you cannot do with your existing costs.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So that's the big value proposition. So I am actually future proof, at least for the extent of 3 to 5 years, where a technology evolves or a technology changes or a technology is disrupted. You're talking about the next 3 years where you're future proof. You're not really talking today of 10 years, 15 years that a Microsoft was probably talking about. Yeah. You're still talking about a 3-year, 5-year horizon where you got to be future proof. You cannot say that, client, please reinvest because the technology has been disrupted. So these are the main things that you go and tell a client.
So within their budget, you say that add this and you will save cost. Is that what you're going to say now?
Absolutely. So within the spend that you're doing right now, you change to a new way of doing things. All right, you are going to save costs, and that new way is also going to result in you being able to do 4 other tasks that you still have a spend on and you're probably not focused on right now.
So this is a business process or it's a sales process for you? This is how you talk to all the CTOs and CMOs out there?
Okay, so it depends on the audience. So you basically, in any client, when you're selling technology, there will be 2 set of people that you would be addressing. Number 1 would be the technical team, right? You got to have a buy-in from the technical team because they need to understand the nuances of that. They need to understand how it's going to impact the existing technologies there.
You want to quickly tell us what an ATM connects to?
Okay, an ATM typically connects through a gate and a router to a payment gateway system, which in fact hits a core banking system. So that's typically how your transactions actually go through, right? So whenever you do a card transaction, it authenticates you through all these mechanisms.
So it's always going through the core banking system, which is legacy.
It hits the banking system eventually because that is the system which knows how much money you have in the bank, right? And that's what is going to decide whether you can actually be.
So the argument shouldn't be I'll come and disrupt that.
No.
So how I can add a feature that can make your processes better, faster, efficient.
So you're not going to go and touch their core banking system at all in the banking scenario. We don't do that, all right? So we just stay on the outside. We make all the other processes simpler and easier for them. Okay. Right from security. Let's talk about security. That's the first layer. We take care of the security. So you have a security guard. We replace that with digital electronic security, which is backed by electronic sensors, which is backed by audio video systems. All right. So you basically do a security that's not going to tire, that's not going to get tired over 24/7, 365 days. You don't have leaves, you don't have people management issues, you don't have increase in salaries and so on and so forth, right? Now, you can't really take out the people. You don't want to really take out the people. You want to upskill that security guard, all right? So you go put an electronic security out there with the IoT box, all right? You integrate the existing electronic security, make it better, connect to your IoT box, connect it to a command control center, and at a 24/7 basis in a centralized location. So what do you do with this guy? Okay, so you basically, what we have done is we have upskilled them and we have made them technicians. So we require people on the ground who are going to respond to an event. All right. So I have an event that's happening, which is a theft. Middle of the night, it is a theft. My IoT box works great. The communication layer is working great.
One of your product was, if I walk in with an helmet on, your system can actually say take off your helmet, right?
Absolutely.
Without a human telling you, it's automated, right?
So that's a process where you sort of play back, audio system, where the moment you recognize that there is a object on the face, right? That's an object recognition, and then you play out a sound bite saying that it can be please stand in the queue, to remove your helmet, to don't crowd around the ATM machine, to so on and so forth, right?
So those are these point solutions that you also offer.
Absolutely. So it's a part of that, right? So then you bring the people back in.
There's a reason why I'm asking you this. You've got a core team now. You've got your technology. You've got your sales. You let the sales process pay for your revenues, or do you go out there and raise money? You went strategic. That's why I'm asking. They did not go to a VC. Maybe they will in the future. But you took a route that was not easy. You went and convinced a larger player out there, a corporate, to back you.
Correct.
And they did.
Correct.
Right. So why didn't you take the VC route? Very interesting. I want to know why you didn't go.
Okay. So it's actually a very simple decision as far as I'm concerned, right? At the beginning, when you actually want to go get real revenues, because that's the only way you're going to grow your business.
True.
Real revenues, real bottom line. Otherwise, your business is going to sink.
Okay.
Right? So when you're doing that, you really need a patient investor. VCs, unfortunately, are not very patient investors. They actually push you to do certain numbers. All right. And unless you actually promise them the numbers, you don't get the investment. So it's like a vicious cycle. So you got to promise them high sales volumes, then they get interested, then they show, they say, have you demonstrated that? You show a little bit of a demonstration, they come in, right, and then they push you to do the numbers. Now, business in the real world doesn't work that way.
Very scary, yeah.
Right. So this works in certain businesses, maybe. Okay. Where there is a where the VCs could invest in, and usually they invest in the flavor of the month, flavor of the season, kind of thing, right? So what would you do if you want to do it the other way? You bootstrap. You invest your own money. You go to friends, family. You invest your own money. You know the value of that money. You burn that money to build a product, to talk to clients, to get them to sign on, do a proof of concept, prove to them that this works, all right, and then hopefully sign on.
Would you advise a 21-year-old to do this, or would you advise a 30-year-old to do this, or would you say have money in the bank and go do it, go borrow money from the bank and do it?
I would never advise a very young guy, to absolutely start, do a startup, because I truly believe that people need to have experience behind them before they can actually start a venture.
Okay.
The chances of success for a very young guy is very minuscule in the kind of environment we have today. I'm not saying that there will not be people who won't succeed. There will be a minority percentage that succeeds, while a large part of them won't succeed. Now it's a dual side situation, right? It's a two sides of the coin. Now a guy at 21 does this, succeeds, great. Doesn't. Now companies who want to hire such kind of guys also queue up to hire such kind of guys, because they've had an entrepreneurial stint behind them, and they have a lot more experience than an absolute fresher, right? But having said that, I would still advise, get some years behind you, get some kind of experience. Enterprise is not going to run away. It is not about the idea, it is about how you can execute it, how you can actually make it succeed, how you can walk the path, right? So get some experience and start doing that. One. Number two, if you're going to start, go to friends and family, not to investors, because investors are not
they're going to just bog you down.
They're not really queuing up to fund you. Okay, there are 10,000 guys in the queue ahead of you, who are actually knocking on
and their mails are flooded.
Right, the mails are flooded. So unless you know somebody directly, you're not even going to get a hearing. Yes. So don't even try that approach, right? Go to friends and family, do a thing, do a business, do a company, set up a product or a service, go get some referral clients, and then probably you should look at, figuring out how am I going to raise money. But if your business is actually revenue driven and profit driven, I think you can actually stretch before you go to an investor.
Okay.
Right? Now, why did we do strategic? All these reasons, and we actually wanted to go have on our side a company and an individual who has been in this sort of an industry
and would understand the long-term vision.
Absolutely. So this is a company that operates in the security space. It operates in risk management. It operates in facilities. It operates in operations and maintenance.
You are a product company,
right? And that is a strategic fit for us because they have those 4,000, 5,000 clients who have all the problems that we are trying to address, right? So for me, I actually get to talk to clients, the right guys, because they're already existing clients of my strategic investor.
Badri, tell me, why are there very few guys like you? Why is that a problem? I'll tell you, I have a lot of people writing with me telling me the corporates don't back you, the Indian corporate.
Okay.
Number one. Like you mentioned about the VC ecosystem and the vicious cycle that can put you in trouble. Then friends and family too. India is not yet open to funding great ideas, right? I mean, people think it's a risk. So, right from the onset, your idea is always going to be defeated. Right. And the other problem is the problem of experience you mentioned.
Correct.
Are we breaking this in India? How do we break it? I mean, enough. I mean, we blame the education system enough, but there's enough information out there for you to go and be yourself, right?
True.
What's your opinion on this?
Look, honestly, I think, why aren't corporates backing entrepreneurs in India? I think that's been changing a little bit in the recent past.
Very true.
You have a lot of the big companies. I mean, a great example of that would be the ex-Tata's chairman. He's bbeen backing a lot of startups.
Yeah.
You also have
he's funded us too.
Okay, all right. I know. Okay, great. So you have you have the other houses like the Reliance and the Birlas and all that stuff who are doing that.
Are they?
But they are doing it a little bit, but it is not enough. Okay. Because the majority of the mindset in India, as I see it, 99% of the people with the money are bankers.
Okay.
It's a typical thing like, I give you the money, how do you guarantee the returns back to me? Okay. Now, if you ask a 21-year-old or even a 30-year-old, how are you going to guarantee the money repayment to me? It's going to be a very difficult task for him to even fathom that answer. I think probably they're going to say, okay, fine, here is my business plan and I'll be able to give you 2x, 3x, 7x return.
So that's why you're saying don't do science fiction, be grounded in reality.
Be grounded in reality, do things that customers are willing to pay you money for. And the other thing that I have seen today in most entrepreneurs is that they want to get rich very quick. Okay. They have seen a lot of big examples, big companies which get funded and they become these billion-dollar valuation companies in double quick time, 5 years, 7 years. Guys not even willing to wait that long right now. I mean, they have a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year horizon, which is actually off-putting for a lot of people because they don't. Would you trust them with the money?
No,
I mean, if somebody says that,
I wouldn't put money in these companies. No.
Right. So I think.
And neither do I have the money. That's another thing. But the interesting part is, the B2C companies have done well. They've inspired people to go out. And you were right, there's a lot. But the B2B industry doesn't work that way. No. It doesn't work like a B2C.
It absolutely doesn't work like a B2C. This is not about eyeballs. This is about a real world problem that you need to really go and solve with a real world product. Now, you got to have a product. Clearly, in my mind, I always come from a product background. So clearly, you need to have a product. You just cannot be a services company alone. Sure, there are a lot of services companies, but then for a typical startup to succeed on a pure play services is going to be very difficult.
It's over.
And in technology, you need to have a product to back your service, which is going to solve a real world problem, which is where customers are really willing to pay you the value. Where it'll let you, run the business and make a profit, and do an organic growth.
My final two questions to you. One is on India's product story. Will it happen? And the talent. whether we have it. What is your opinion on creating wealth?
Okay.
It's been a while. I mean, last guy we heard was Narayan Murthy and all the other IT services companies. After that, it's all been the investors who are making money. I see that as a very dangerous situation in India.
Right. Let me take the the first part of the question. In India, I believe that we have a lot of talent. I see that every day. I see that at client locations, people who are competing with us, for example. I see that within the team that we have built within the organization. I talk to a lot of other startups. I see a lot of talent out there. Just walk into pretty much any coffee shop in Bangalore. You see a humongous amount of talent on technology side. I think we have talent. What we are missing right now in India, which I think is slightly slowly emerging, is coming out with original ideas. You know, I don't think we should be a Me Too. I don't think we should be looking at, hey, Uber is a great idea in the US. I'm going to do an Ola. Fine, it worked. But we start doing too many Me Too's of too many small things. Now, what could be a software feature, let us say, for a particular company in a product, suddenly becomes an enterprise idea. That's not sustainable. All right. So, but in the West, such kind of companies get funded. They get acquired by the big companies because it is a useful feature for them. But in India, it's not going to work that way. So I think our guys with all the talent, they should actually create products which are not just a feature, which are original in ideas, which are solving things. All right. So that's my viewpoint on that. Now,
creating
wealth, I think naturally follows. I don't think you should be chasing wealth. No idea is going to really work if you are chasing wealth. Wealth is a byproduct. Wealth is a journey, right? Enterprise itself is a journey. Building a team is a journey, right? From when you roll up your sleeves, do things for yourself, to when you have a team. That's a journey. First customer pitch to actual revenues to multiple customers and revenues is a journey, right? Wealth is a byproduct. That is a part of the journey that happens, right? And the moment you have companies which are growing organically, sure, take an investment at the right time, right? There are good VCs, there are good PEs. You should take the investment at the right time, not at the very early stage. That will help you create wealth for your entire team. Yes, it is not just for the investor, but for the promoters as well as the the team that's been there through this journey. It's not going to happen overnight. Right? Which is where I think we are losing out a lot. There are a lot of people who give up too soon, too early. They don't pick themselves up, after 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, they give up. Right? And that is not going to work. So you really need to be prepared for the long haul. You need to be prepared to make sacrifices.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's called the entrepreneurial madness.
Absolutely.
How do you stay calm?
Well, I guess the family, it's the wife. It's the kids, I guess,
That's the secret to success. Find yourself a good wife or husband, and the co-founders.
Very important.
Very important. Quick advice on to give up or not give up.
Not give up.
Try hard.
Try hard. Keep picking yourself up, because you will succeed. Okay.
Given 5 years to a business,
you can pivot. Yes, you need to give yourself minimum 2 to 3 years before you can hope to succeed. Right? It's not gonna happen in the first year or the second. Some companies get lucky, yes, but I think a minimum is a 3-year period.
Good.
That's a minimum.
Badri, you've been wonderful. You're with Vishal Krishna, your business editor, and that's Badri from Cattleya Technosys. Check them out, and we'll see each other soon. Thanks, Badri.
Absolutely.
It's been wonderful. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.